Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Oh my, Joe Biden is just getting wrecked out there, folks. And we have never seen anything like this in the mainstream media. I mean, Joe Biden is getting dragged, even on networks like MSNBC and CNN on basically a nightly basis. Now, it's not so much the Biden coverage that you see on Fox or even Sky News Australia and Sky News UK where they absolutely drill into the guy. It's more of a doom and gloom coverage. You can tell that they're distraught. You can tell that they don't want to be reporting this, but it's just the reality and they basically don't have any other choice. Over the last couple of weeks, I've made a couple videos following CNN discussion panels where a particular CNN guest or CNN contributor starts essentially dropping truth bombs on the Biden regime and the failure that is Joe Biden, leaving the rest of the panel in complete silence, speechless, and once again it's happening as Joe Biden continues to receive dismal coverage, frankly continues to get absolutely destroyed across the media and even by Democrat pollsters. Let me update you guys on the doom and gloom that Democrats are experiencing. But of course, before we get into any of it, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We are still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm, hidden from non-subscribed viewers. And with that out of the way, let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so we're just gonna hit these one after another. Take a look at this one first. Watch, CNN guest blasts Biden's weak leadership.
But I think the bigger problem for Biden is, just as Jordan was saying, people correctly perceive that he's not in control of the situation. And I think ever since Afghanistan last summer, people have had, voters overall, have not had a sense of leadership from the White House, have not had a sense that there's a president in control who is strong and consistent and knows what he's doing and can project, a consistent message from one day or the next, even when they agree with what he's doing, like broadly on Ukraine, where the public generally supports, the overall strategy of supporting the Ukrainians and rallying the international community while drawing the line at sending troops, that you still have, the president continually stepping on his own message, the White House continually having to correct things he said. And so I think that overall, it's harder for him, it's not any particular policy or particular decision that he's made so much as people just questioning whether there is strong leadership going on.
Once again, another CNN host leaves the panel speechless. No one really knows what to respond. And that's because CNN is not exactly used to having to confront the truth on their network. And what she said is totally accurate. That even when Joe Biden does some things that are mildly redeemable, I guess we could describe them. I guess the overarching approach that Joe Biden's had when it comes to Ukraine, even in a situation that's perfectly set up for Joe Biden to gain some approval rating, he manages to put his foot in his mouth, constantly contradict White House messaging, frankly spew a bunch of nonsense. The White House has to come out and correct him over and over again, and his approval rate stagnates or even drops. The guy is walking political sabotage. And speaking of Joe Biden's low approval ratings, here's once again CNN covering Joe's historic low.
There is brand new polling out on the presidential approval rating, and it's not good for President Biden. Joining us now, Harry Etten, CNN senior data reporter. These numbers are really tough.
John, I don't like just looking at one poll. I like looking at multiple polls. And there were 4 different polls released this week. Quinnipiac, we had a Hart Public Opinion Strategies polls. That's with NBC or CNBC, Ipsos Reuters, CBS News, YouGov. I want you to look. These numbers kind of differ. They range from the low 30s to the low 40s. Low 40s is not good either. But what's key is the lowest are tied for the low for the pollster. Lowest tier, lowest tier. This is 1 point off the lowest tier. And when you have 3 or 4 pollsters showing the lowest numbers for the President of the United States, that is indicative of a president who's in a lot of trouble, at least to where he has standed historically.
Well, let's talk about history here. How does President Biden, compare to former President Trump in this stage of the presidency?
There was always that thing, Donald Trump has the lowest approval rating at this point in his presidency. We did it over and over and over and over again. Well, at this point in his presidency, Donald Trump's numbers, actually his average approval rating is 1 point higher than Joe Biden's, which is at 41%, Donald Trump at 42%. A first-term president at this point in his presidency, this is the lowest. This is the lowest for anyone who is elected to the presidency and didn't get up there through the vice presidency. This is a really, really, really bad number.
And you see how they sit. I mean, they're stuck in that position. They have to analyze the facts ahead of 2022. In 2018, during the midterms of Donald Trump's first term in office, it was endless coverage of Donald Trump's disastrous approval rating. And now with Joe Biden, I mean, they don't have a choice. He's even lower than Trump was. And that's significant. The number is 41 to 42%. But considering every single poll is Democrat favored, I mean, by design, they're oversampling Democrats every single time. Joe is not behind just 1%. Joe Biden is significantly behind. Joe Biden's at the worst position headed into his first term midterm any president has ever been, at least in modern history, with modern polling data. Like I keep telling you guys, Joe Biden continues to break records in all of the wrong ways. And speaking of polling, speaking of Biden, now even Democrat pollsters are coming out on the record, essentially claiming that Joe Biden doesn't stand a chance. Take a look at this. Former Clinton pollster sends warning to Biden. Re-election, quote, virtual impossibility at such low approval.
This is the Quinnipiac number among independents for President Biden. 26% approval rate for President Biden. Mark, you've written and talked about this so much. Nobody seems to be listening to what you're suggesting, though, over at the White House in terms of what needs to happen here so far.
Well, these are spectacularly low numbers. Yeah. To really get down to only a third being favorable, and in the 20s on independents, of course, makes re-election a virtual impossibility.
And of course, he's not the only one. Top Biden pollster issues dire warning that, quote, hissed Americans don't feel Democrats can get their ish together, says Democrats are facing bloodbath in midterm elections. John Anzalone served as chief pollster for Joe Biden during the 2020 presidential campaign, as well as for the presidential campaigns of Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. Anzalone has done polling for numerous other Democrats, such as North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, Senator Kyrsten Sinema. However, Anzalone was critical of Democrats in a recent podcast where he voiced his fears that Democrats could get wiped out in the 2022 midterms. In the recent episode of Politico's Playbook Deep Dive that was released on Friday, Anzalone warned that Americans are, quote, pissed. The political strategist is extremely concerned that Democrats could get obliterated in the midterms, where they'll need to compete just to not get their kick. Host Ryan Lizza asked Anzalone, let's just start off with how bad are things for the Democrats this year, and what can they do about it? Anzalone noted that American voters are always asking politicians, what have you done for me lately, he adds. And they don't feel Democrats can get their S together and get things done. No one's going to sit there as a Democrat consultant and try to BS you that this is anything but a really sour environment for Democrats, Anzalone admitted. So we better look at these strategic ways that we can compete, right? Just compete to not get our handed to us. So even Democrat pollsters are either saying that Joe Biden's ability to get reelected is essentially a virtual impossibility, and that even if Democrats get their messaging together and put together a strategic plan and execute well, they're still going to be fighting for second place essentially. That the best the Democrats could do right now headed into 2022 is to not get completely blown out. You gotta love it, folks. And this idea that in just a couple months the Democrats are somehow going to get a messaging strategy together and start somehow generating good press and good stories and good accomplishments in such a short time frame is a little bit unrealistic. I mean, they've been trying. It's not lack for trying. Democrats are absolutely relentless. You got to give them that, but their narratives are falling flat. Every single narrative that Democrats have tried to summon in order to turn this thing around ahead of 2022 has ended in complete failure. For instance, this one, narrative fail, only 6% of Americans are buying Joe Biden's talking point that Russia is to blame for his record inflation. Just take a look at this graphic right over here. Who or what do you blame for inflation? President Biden and his policies, 38%. Corporations increasing prices, 23%. 23%, I mean, those are some real special people. The typical anti-capitalist who understands absolutely nothing about markets, the economy or money supply. The COVID-19 pandemic, 28%. Russia's invasion of Ukraine, 6%. The narrative has fallen completely flat. Only the most brainwashed of the vote blue no matter who crowd are actually buying this stuff. And it seems as though more and more, I mean, don't take it from me, take it from CNN, take it from former Clinton pollster, take it from former Biden 2020 pollster. The Democrats, as well as Joe Biden, are pretty much done. And if the Dems lose in 2022, then Joe Biden will be forever a lame duck president, pretty much guaranteed. He will have accomplished absolutely nothing. His approval rating will continue to tank, and his political legacy will be finished. Thank the Lord. That's what I got for you guys, though. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe. Share it as much as possible. We are still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm, hidden from non-subscribed viewers. I'm going to get back to work. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.